Well, today in Fast Track, we're going to visit the story and judges of a man named Manoah.
Manoah, that is quite the name.
Well, it's not manure, but it's pretty close.
Yeah, it sounds
most
like
people
it.
don't even know that Manoah actually belongs in the Bible. He's actually the father of a very famous judge. Can you guess who?
Well, I know the answer, so I feel like it's cheating.
Okay, well, it is Samson. So Samson, before Samson comes along and delivers the people, the book of Judges really begins this section by describing a family in crisis. Manoah and his wife, number one, are getting just obliterated by the Philistines. Land stolen, property stolen. They're going through these cycles of sin over and over and over again. It's a very difficult time. But besides nationally being a difficult time, religiously being a difficult time, personally it's very difficult as well because they're struggling with infertility. And if you've ever struggled with infertility, if you've known someone who really deeply wanted to have a child, you know this struggle is very personal. And for Manoah and his wife, they really want to have a child and they're not able to. And they're wrestling with God during a time that the whole nation really is wrestling with God. So we thought we might show in a real practical way through a science experiment what it looks like when we struggle with depression, when we struggle with difficulty, when we struggle with those inner feelings within us that just take the joy out of us. We hear everybody else saying, trust in the Lord, have the joy of the Lord, and you're like, I want to, but my spirit's been crushed. So Sierra's a scientist as well as myself. She's sort of a chemistry background. I'm more of a anything I can use to blow stuff up kind of scientist. So tell us a little bit about the science experiment we're going to do today.
Well, the science of this is that you have right now.
I do?
You too, yeah. And this have 14.7 PSI amount of pressure pushing on every square inch of you.
So there's right now 14.7 pounds per square inch pushing on me.
And this.
Oh, wow. Okay. And is that a lot?
That is a lot.
Okay.
It's very heavy.
Wow. Well, then is that enough to crush the thing?
It is. It's more than enough to crush it.
Then why isn't it crushed?
Well, you see, it's also got 14.7 PSI on the inside. So it is pushing it in both directions, therefore it stays still.
Equilibrium, as they say. So science experiment time, science experiment time.
Yeah, I know you want to blow stuff up.
Okay, I do.
But not yet.
Oh, okay. So what are we going to do?
First, we're going to try and crush it without the science.
Okay, well, I'll go first. All right, it's plastic and, oh, wow. My goodness, it's a lot stronger than you think.
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
No, it's not just me, just because I never went to work out or use weights in my life. This is genuinely very strong. So you're telling me that just air pressure around us is enough to crush this thing?
It absolutely is.
All right, well,
we just got to take the air pressure out of the inside.
Oh, well, if you're so tough, why don't you try and crush it? See if you can.
Well, I mean, that's not going to be
much. If you do it, I'm going to feel
much.
really bad. I want you to know. Okay, so it is genuinely tough and generally 14.7 pounds outside equilibrium.
In every square inch.
Every square inch, 14.7 pounds. All right, and the reason it's not being crushed is because there are 14.7 pounds
pushing outward
on the inside, keeping it from being crushed. All right. So what are we going to do?
Well, I vote we take all the air out of the inside.
We're going to take the air from the inside of, how will we do that?
Very carefully.
All right, science experiment.
Now you get to blow stuff up.
All right, so we are going to pour in a magic liquid that will take the air from the inside of this. And when this air has been removed, there will no longer be 14.7 pounds per square inch.
First, safety goggles.
Oh, safety time, safety time. Don't try this at home. Try this at a friend's home, as they always say. So here we go. We got safety goggles. My wife's always saying, why do you burn things in our kitchen before you do these on stage at church? But, you know, you got to experiment someplace. It's a hypothesis. My hypothesis is that we will not die, but we'll see. So we're going to spread around the juices here, and we're going to burn out, I love that sound, burn out all of the air from the inside here.
Hopefully this goes the right way.
Now, the reason we're going to do this, though, is because many of us either have struggled with depression or we have friends who've struggled with depression. And it's one thing to talk about depression and to say, well, I guess, why don't you snap out of it? But when you actually go through depression, it's incredibly difficult because something inside of you has actually sucked the life out of you. And the normal pressures of life that a year ago, 2 years ago, prior to postpartum depression, prior to your kids leaving for college, you didn't have a problem with the normal pressures of life.
But now they affect you more than anything else in the entire world.
Yeah, you're finding yourself more emotional than before. You're finding yourself, you can't snap out of it the way you once did. And so I don't know what that trigger is for you. It's different for all of us, really.
It is.
It might be, you know, when Sierra left to college, she wrote me this very nice note, and she left it on the kitchen table. And every time, I read it once, and I wept and wept and wept. And then I just looked at it on the kitchen table, and I would weep. It was a job transfer. I remember when I moved to a church I'm at now, I came out of a very difficult circumstance. I just felt like the life had been sucked out of me. It might be an audit, it might be unforeseen outcomes, but something happens. And when that happens, life literally gets sucked out of you. And now, the 14.7 pounds of pressure that before didn't bother you at all, didn't affect you at all, allowed you to function totally normally. That 14.7 pounds of just normal activity, normal pressures, normal wear and tear in your life is literally crushing your spirit. So this is what depression feels like. This is what depression looks like as it begins to crush in your soul, which is why all through the book of Psalms, we see different judges, we see different Moses, we see different writers saying, oh my goodness, Lord, I am crushed within. I am destroyed within myself because I've just been destroyed.
This happens.
And so people can tell you, hey, snap out of it, but what you really need is for the Spirit of God to begin to come in, and it's a process of trying to put yourself back together and re-meditate on God's words and His promises to allow His Spirit to come back in during that time. And that might involve, medicine, because biochemically your brain gets mixed up. It might involve, cognitive thinking, meditating on God's truths. And it's a lot of just inviting God to help you during that depression. And that's
refill your spirit.
Yeah, to refill your spirit. I think that's where Manoah and his wife find themselves. As a pastor, I get an opportunity with folks who are dealing with depression for a lot of reasons, whether it's the loss of a child, and how does your heart ever recover from that? I had a young couple who Beth and I met, one of our best friends, our first year of marriage, and they were struggling with infertility. In fact, they found a tumor the size of a volleyball that was keeping her from having children. And you remember, you had wasn't that big.
I had one tumor the size of a lemon, and
yeah,
we had out last year.
It's amazing that just the things you could do before you can't. In this case, they really wanted to have children. They weren't able to. And the spirit in their marriage was just sucked out by this circumstance beyond their control. As I mentioned earlier, the job I was at before, I just felt like every idea I ever suggested, every creative idea I tried to propose got shot down. And my wife would say that I left that church ready to get out of ministry because I just felt like maybe I don't fit. I mean, maybe the requirement to be overly serious or whatever, I just almost abandoned the ministry. I just had my self-concept, my self-image just beat down during that time. But whatever it is, God uses the fire metaphor a lot in the story of Samson. Samson does not go to battle with the Philistines the way God tells him to until he feels the sting of the Philistines on himself. Instead of trying to cast out the Philistines, he
decided to marry one.
Yeah, he decides to marry one, the woman from Timnah.
Which, ironically, I've been there.
Oh, have you? Well, he shows up, and as he's in this location, he has this riddle, and the Philistines actually pressure his fiancée to say, you tell us a riddle or we're going to burn your house down. She does tell him. Samson's ticked off, anger problem, lust problem, Samson. He runs out and says, well, now I'm justified, and he actually kills a bunch of Philistines, gives them a bunch of coats for cheating, and then they get mad for him killing their friends. So they go and they burn down the house of his fiancée and the entire family.
Wow, that is just horrible.
And now for the first time, Samson's feeling the real sting of the Philistines in a way that he's like, I got to do something about this. I got to step up to this. So he actually takes fire, again using fire, and he wraps it between some foxes. And he burns down the fields of the Philistines, and that begins the battle of Samson finally, because of this fire, stepping into the battle and the purpose that God had for him. So that's where we're going to head today, is we're going to look at the story of Samson. But again, remember, this is not a guy who's got his life together.
Oh, absolutely not.
No, this is somebody who's living in a very difficult time. His family, his parents are in a very difficult time of depression. And God is going to work in the midst of his anger, in the midst of his lust, in the midst of all this difficulty to help him understand how God wants to work even when our spirit's been crushed as well.
Well, why don't you grab your tic-tac-toe boards and let's get on the fast track.